Okay, so this is basically the mm, section in which we'll be studying about how to make the prisma flow diagram and then writing the initial parts of results. Um, Results of the outcomes are already done, and now we'll be learning how to write the initial paragraphs of results, right? Okay, so first of all, we'll learn how to make the prisma flow diagram. Prisma flow diagram basically we make for all the screening thing, like how many articles we imported to Rayan, then how many duplicates we resolved, then how many articles we excluded, what were the reasons of exclusion, how many articles we took for our primary screening, and then how many articles we took for the secondary screening. This all will be now presenting in a form of flow diagram, and it's called prisma flow diagram. So prisma flow diagram will basically open up in this site, this one. Once we open this site, we'll click create flow diagram. Okay, so basically this data we need to fill this one, and we'll be removing all this gray thing. So first of all, I'll be filling here, and it would automatically appear here because I can't directly write over here. I have to write over here, right? Okay, so we'll just do exactly the way I'm doing. Previous studies not included. Other search for studies, I'll say not included. Individual databases, I'll click included. Individual registers not included. Okay. Now, databases means uh, I already explained in the screening lecture that according to Cochrane rule, for conducting meta-analysis, we basically have to search for at least three databases. Like we have to retrieve articles from at least three databases. These databases can be like different databases, for example, PubMed, Embase, Scopus, Web of Science, yeah, Cochrane, clinicaltrials.gov, and some others like this, Medline. So all these are different kinds of databases. So now here, first of all, I'll be filling out and yeah, what does the register mean? Registers here basically mean how many articles basically like we included in our meta, how many articles not included, sorry, how many articles we initially imported from different databases. Let's say I imported 10 articles from PubMed, I imported 20 articles from Scopus, and I imported 30 articles from uh let's say Cochrane. So my register shall be 20 plus 30, 50 plus 10. So it means like totally I imported 60 articles to Rayan. So let's go with the 60 thing, right? So 60 is the register. Now, databases, how many databases are used? So basically I use three databases. Yeah, databases. Now they are asking me individual databases. Now I have to enter specific databases results. Here in I'll delete this database one. I won't delete this small comma with it because if I do any editing in this format, I won't be able to write it over here. So I just deleted the database one, and instead of it, I'll be writing PubMed. Okay, so PubMed. Now this XX means how many articles you imported from RAN. Okay, so this 10. These are just the hypothetical numbers I'll be writing now. My next database is, let's say, Embase. So Embase, let's say I imported 30 articles. No, sorry, 30. See, it's showing error to me now. Why? Because I removed this comma, then 30. Yeah. Now, the next database, at least three databases. Let's say I'm saying Scopus. I imported 20 articles from Scopus. So this is how I filled my first box. Now, basically individual registers basically this thing like you have to now individually type. So I would say not included websites. Zero, instead of zero, I'll be just removing this thing so that it just disappear from here. Citations, I'll remove this zero too. Okay, now, once that thing is removed, I'll basically move on towards my this box. Now, once we import articles to our screening tool, let's say Ryan, after that we resolve the duplicates. Now, how many duplicates? Basically, records removed before screening or duplicate records. Let's say I say that I resolved out of these 60, there were, let's say, 10 were duplicates, right? Record marked as ineligible by automation tool. No need to this. Records removed for other reasons, others exclusion, nothing. So I'll remove this thing. This box is enough. Now I'll move on towards this. 60 articles I imported. Out of 60, 10 were duplicates. So how many articles I screened? Basically, I screened 50 articles. Okay, records excluded. I just write how many records I excluded in primary screening. Now, this record excluded me in primary screening. See, this thing was for identification, this thing is for screening now. This is how many, basically, how many articles we screened. How many articles we excluded in our primary screening. So let's say I excluded, out of 15, let's say I excluded 10 articles. So report sort mean how many reports I sort in my after primary screening. So if I screened 50 articles and 10 were excluded, so it means 40 were sought. Reports not retrieved, I leave it as 0. I won't remove this 0. I would leave it as 0. If I remove this box would be, it won't be removed, it would be written NA. I don't want NA, so I have just write 0. Okay, other reports sought, nothing. Other reports not retrieved, nothing. Report assessed now. Report assessed for eligibility is same as that report sought, so I would write 0. Now, reports excluded. So I now here in this box and in this I would basically write the reasons for exclusion. Why, how I excluded. So these reasons, most of the people don't remember that. Let's say these are like small number of articles 60. If we, when we are doing meta, we screen 6,000, 5,000, 10,000 sometimes. 500, 600, different numbers. Like the thing is, we screen a big number of articles, a big sum of articles. So no one remembers due to which reasons we excluded the studies. Maybe some of the screening members excluded the articles, the because it was not matching the patient population, some of the article because it was not fulfilling our intervention criteria, some of the articles because it was not fulfilling our outcomes criteria, some of the articles because it was not matching the study design as we sought. So basically these are different reasons for exclusion, but we usually don't remember, so here we would just write hypothetical. Okay, so 40 articles I assessed for eligibility. Out of these 40 articles, how many articles I excluded and how many articles were left for the final screening. So now let's say out of these 40 articles, 30 of the articles are excluded. Again, like up till that, we up till this we did primary screening. After this 40 articles we did secondary screening, and now after secondary screening, let's say we are remaining with the 10 articles. So if 10 articles are to be included in our meta, it means that 30 articles are excluded in the secondary screening, and now we have to give its reasons. So what I would do, let's say these reasons you would write from your side. Let's say I write my first reason as wrong patient population. Let's say how many articles are excluded because of this wrong patient population. Um, let's say 15. Okay. Sorry. Others, I am writing in this. Others report excluded. Basically, I have to write over here. Other report excluded. Okay. So, wrong patient population. I gave my first reason. Let's say wrong patient population 50, the articles are excluded because of this. I give my second reason as outcomes of interest. Let's say wrong, I can't say, but I would write something of, let's say, ineligible outcomes. I would give how many articles? Out of 40, basically, I have to exclude 30 or here, so I would divide. Let's say I say that 10 articles. This is now hypothetical thing, but I have to write. Third reason I would give wrong study design. Let's say I'm just including, let's say I'm doing meta for observational and RCTs, but um, wrong patients, not wrong study population. Study design. Let's say these 5 articles I excluded because these articles were cross-sectional studies, so I would write 5. So this is how I felt this. Now, 40 out of 40, 30 are excluded over here, so our new articles are 10. This new article now you won't write hypothetical, you would write the exact number how many articles are included in your study. This thing is only hypothetical. And sometimes if you don't remember the Ryan screening thing, you can write the duplicate things from your side too. But mostly we open the Ryan file and from there we just quickly see how many articles were imported to Ryan and how many duplicates were there. These individual registers basically these we remember by running our search strategy through different databases and we come to know how many articles we imported from different databases. Okay, so now 10 articles were included, new studies included in review. It's 10 and news reports of new study, nothing. Okay, so I would just, this is my Prisma flow diagram. Now I would download it. Most people download it in the form of PDF, but PNG form is good to go. So I would download it. I would dismiss this thing. They are saying that cite this tool. Once you are doing meta, so okay, this is my Prisma flow diagram. This Prisma flow diagram you have to either put at the end of the article or in supplementary files. This is the Prisma flow diagram. Now, through this Prisma flow diagram, we'll be writing the first paragraph of our result section. Yes, so basically this is the whole result section. In result section, we learn up till this meta-analysis of outcomes. This all we studied. But now, basically this thing we'll be studying. This paragraph search result thing. In here, we'll be explaining the Prisma flow diagram, study characteristic paragraph, and the risk of bias assessment thing. Now, in this particular paragraph, we'll be writing, let's say, the search identified how many records. The search identified, let's say, yeah, search identified 60 records. I would be writing from this Prisma diagram, right? 60 records we identified. How many from Embase? We imported 30 articles from Embase. How many from PubMed? 10 articles from PubMed and um, 20 articles from not Web of Science. I basically in this study I use Web of Science and Scopus. Right? After removing how many duplicates? How many duplicates? We removed 10 duplicates. How many studies remained? 50. 50 articles remain for title and abstract screening. Title and abstract screening is the other name for primary screening. Following the screening process, dash were excluded based on title and this evolution. Following the screening process, title and abstract evaluation, how many articles we basically evaluation, sorry. We excluded 10 articles we excluded. So this is our primary exclusion, the primary screening exclusion. 10 studies were excluded based on title and abstract evaluation. These articles 50 a full text were assessed for eligibility. 40 full text were assessed for eligibility, and finally 10 studies were included in the qualitative and the quantitative synthesis. These studies comprise, yeah, if stands now in the last paragraph you would have to write how many studies, like the study, let's say I'm saying these studies comprised of 8 observational studies and 2 randomized controlled trials. So this line you would write about the study design. The prisma flow diagram is given in the study selection process, figure 1. Figure 1, basically I would we will bold this figure 1, and this figure shall be figure 1 in your article. So this is about the screening thing. The study characteristic thing, it's really easy because we already learned about the baseline characteristics. Here, what we would do, we would simply write how many patient population were included in the studies. So basically, you would add the sample size of the intervention and control group from your baseline table, and you would write here. With this, let's say this is my research on the EVT plus IVT group, and EVT is my control group. This is my intervention group, and this is my control group. So let's say a total of 5,252 patients were analyzed across the studies, with patients with patient with this 1,777 patients in the EVT plus IVT group and 3,475 patients in the EV2 group. Like here now you would write the individual patient population, but make sure to write these numbers correct because journal usually check sample size of the patient is like the main interest of the meta. So make sure to add the sample sizes of the intervention and controls properly from the baseline table, and then individually write how many patients were in the intervention group and how many patients were in the control group, and make sure to write these numbers, like extract these patient population or the sample size too from the studies, like correct extractions shall be done for the sample sizes thing. Okay, now once you write in the study characteristic, your first line shall be about the sample sizes. The next line, you won't have to explain the whole baseline table, but explain just two, three main things. For example, write this thing that the studies were published between the, let's say, 2021 and 2025, like you're the oldest year in the latest year of your publication. It would be also written in the study design, sorry, in the study ID, it's written the years. So you would have to write between which timeline the studies are published. And another line you people can write in which countries the studies were published. Let's say, for example, out of these 10 studies, 8 studies are conducted in Germany, and let's say 2 studies were conducted in USA. It would be also, we would have extracted the specific thing in our baseline table, like the country of study. Most of the people include this particular column in their baseline table. So if this column is included about the country, so do write that one, like the studies were published between 2021 and 2025, all conducted in, let's say, Germany, or it out of which 8 studies were conducted in Germany and 2 studies were conducted in USA, or different countries, the countries which are written in the baseline table, or any other special baseline characteristic which you want to mention here, which is of prime importance to you people. So you can mention here, but don't extend the study characteristics paragraph. Just limit, this line is important, this sentence is important, this sentence is important, this one. Studies were published between. Rest 1 2 sentences you people can add from your side. If you don't want to add, just line the detailed baseline characteristics are present in table 1. Table 1 shall be your baseline table. After this shall be our last line, last, sorry, paragraph of today's lecture. We'll be explaining the risk of bias assessment thing here. Risk of bias assessment, you simply have to write that, let's say, um let's say I am writing the results for the risk of bias assessment of RCT, and that particular RCT D2 domain is like some concerns and other are let's say low. So overall shall be some concerns. Let's say the name of this RCT is XYZ 2025. So I would write that the risk of bias assessment rated, like for example, there are 3 RCTs. Let's say there are 3 RCTs. So I would say that the risk of bias assessment rated all the studies as some concerns due to concerns in their uh, D2 domain. You people can write, or their concerns in the deviation from intended intervention. Yet you people can write the name of that specific domain too. Risk of bias assessment, simply you have to open up the traffic plot and have to write from that. So the risk of bias assessment rated this study as low risk, high risk, or some concerns, and you have to write due to in which domains there were concerns and in which domains there were like some concerns or high risk thing. Let me open up any study if I have by chance. RCT some. I need to show you people. This is the summary plot. From summary plot we can't write anything. This is the traffic. This is the main plot we would have to write for over here. This. Let's say XYZ 2000. XYZ 2025 or 2023. 2023 is my study. So how I would write its results? Risk of bias assessment rated XYZ 2023 as low risk due to low risk in all of its domain. Let's say this D2 was some concern. So I would write risk of bias assessment rated XYZ 2023 study as some concerns due to concerns in due to or concern in bias due to deviation from intended intervention. Or let's say there are two some concerns. This one is some concern too, this one is some concern too. So what you would write? You would write rate it at some concern due to concerns in bias due to deviation from intended intervention and bias in the measurement of outcomes. Let's say you are writing the risk of bias assessment of 10 studies. So you won't write the risk of bias assessment of individual studies. You would just write, let's say out of these 10 studies, 8 studies are rated as low risk. So what you would write? You would just write the name of the study IDs. Let's say XYZ 2023, ABC 2025, DEF 2020, 28, 2022, as let's say these three studies are low risk. So I would simply write the study IDs and I would write that risk of bias assessment rated these studies as low risk. Now, next coming towards those studies in which there are some concerns, the overall is some concern, I would just write the study IDs and I would write due to some concerns in these domains. Let's say some of the studies are rated as high risk. So I would write these studies are rated as high risk because of the high risk in that particular domain or domains. So you won't have to write each and every study separately. You just have to write the collectively. Write the low risk studies together, write the some concerns risk studies together if there are high risk or some concern studies present. And the same would go for the Newcastle Ottawa scale thing. Newcastle Ottawa scale, I already explained in the method section its rating. If the let's say if any study is rated as 7 or 8 stars or 9 stars, so I would write that there is the quality assessment. Risk of bias assessment is for RCTs and the quality assessment word is used for the observational studies. So the quality assessment through Newcastle Ottawa scale rated that particular study as low risk, having stars between 6 to let's say having stars as 7 to 8 and like this. And yes, for example, a study is rated as some concerns or a study is rated as high risk and it is due to a solid reason. For example, in a study, D1 is high, and you know that this D1 is high because we couldn't conceal the study. Concealment wasn't done because that's why the D1 is high in a study, and the concealment wasn't possible because of the study design. Like the intervention nature was like that we couldn't conceal the study. So in that particular case, we would write at the end in these words just to make our stance clear that these limitations are largely because of the inherent characteristics. Let's say here my in this risk of bias assessment like the risk is coming high. So I have written that these limitations are largely due to the inherent characteristics of observational study design and the subjective nature of the outcome measurement. So let's say if D1 of RCT is coming high, so you know the reason, the solid reason, so you would write that okay, these particular studies were rated as high risk, but it was due to the inherent nature of the intervention that concealment was not possible, or let's say I can't say randomization was not possible in a randomized controlled trial, but let's say if high risk is coming in domain 2, so I would simply write that in domain 2 Or there were deviations from intended intervention due to solid reason that branding was not possible, something like this. According to the reasons you did the risk of bias assessment. So you people can clearly mention the reasons 2 into 3 lines. So this was all about the results. Results basically first you will write the first paragraph as search results. The next paragraph shall be about the study characteristics. The third paragraph risk of bias assessment. Citation evidence is basically for the grade assessment. Most of the metas don't do this, so you people can skip this paragraph and then meta-analysis of the outcomes, and you would exactly write the way I explained before. So this was all about today's lecture.